One of the striking things that we've discovered in some of our twins is a common developmental history. We've had twins come down with headaches at about the same age. The disorder would manifest itself over a period of time, and then it would abate. We've had twins who've had learning difficulties at about the same age, had psychiatric treatment. It went away. We've had other twins who've shown hyperactivity at about the same period of time. It would go follow a particular course and disappear. And it clearly looks as though a genetic clock is sort of turned on, runs its course and goes off, and then maybe comes on again, or another clock goes on. When we first discovered this, I was absolutely amazed because I'd been trained in the tradition of believing that traits that have high constancy are more likely to be genetic, but traits that fluctuate are not. And of course, Ronald Wilson's work with infant twins, these longitudinal studies, have been showing this synchronicity in development, and our data really links in very, very nicely with his work. I was wondering whether you made any observations along these lines.
Yes, I think I did, of course. How should I put it? I strongly agree with you that that's the... if we could pick up something like migraine, the headache, rather typical migraine, I have two cases, both concordant, and in one case the twin was brought up with the mother who also had migraine, but then she was brought. The other twin was brought up in quite a different environment. But if you had that single case...
You'd say it was a learned psychosomatic kind of response.
Yes, you could explain that very easily. And but I think sometimes you'll see that if you do a longitudinal study, if you do a cross-sectional study, just one investigation.
What we're doing now, basically.
Yes, you might find some differences, but if you are doing a longitudinal, the next time they might again be discordant, but the opposite way around. you understand
That's right,
what I mean?
Yes.
But
Irving has found this, Irv Gottesman has found this with schizophrenic twins. On occasion you'll find them discordant, but then one will remiss and the other one will manifest a disorder.
Yes.
And depending on where you slice it.
Yes. But still, it's reasonable to say they're concordant.
Certainly, they're just slightly out of sync.
Yes. Well, the concept of concordance is a difficult one, really, because very often you hesitate to say that they are concordant, but as a Swedish colleague said to me once, they're not discordant.
Yes, concordant and not discordant.
He waited 10 years before he said, now they are concordant with regard to schizophrenia. Now I'm satisfied. They're concordant now. But 10 years earlier,
they were not.
They were not concordant, but they were not discordant either.
Yeah.
And I think that will very often be the result that you'll feel that one has a definite characteristic, the other one is a bit difficult to very many people who say, well, they're just discordant.
Yeah, we have a few cases where one twin will be divorced and the other is not divorced.
Yes.
So you have a dramatically different social environment at the moment.
Yes.
And the twins behave differently toward each other and toward others, in fact, during the course of an assessment. We've watched that. And I have the very strong feeling that if the married twin were to be divorced, he or she would have a very similar behavior pattern. You get the sense, but they're not. One is married and one is not. And so the controlling circumstances in the environment are clearly shaping differences. There's no question. It's an important environmental fact. And you can see that when the environment changes, most likely they'll become quite similar. So it shows the importance of the environment, and it shows the importance of the genetic predispositions and the personality pattern. It's clear, as Professor Licken has pointed out, that as you work with these twins, you become more impressed with genetic effects, but you also become more impressed with environmental effects and how they work.
And there's room enough for both.
For both.
But the interaction is complicated but fascinating.
Oh, well, yeah, as I think I pointed out a few minutes ago, one of the reasons I became very interested in doing this research was because of the real neatness, the logical neatness of the design.
Yes.
But when you end up working with these twins and you start studying their lives in great detail, you really see how complicated the situation is. The apparent simplicity of the design is just overwhelmed by the complexity of individual lives. There's no question.